Good evening. Welcome to the April 19th, 2021 meeting of the Coeur d'Alene Parks and Recreation Commission. Melissa, would you get us started with roll call, please?
Commissioner Cranston,
Here.
Commissioner McDowell,
Here.
Commissioner Lean,
Here.
Commissioner Tate, Commissioner Hill,
Here.
Commissioner Wood,
Here.
Commissioner Tenbrink,
Here.
Great. Bridget, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do any of the commissioners tonight have a conflict of interest with any of our agenda items?
None here.
Okay, no conflicts. First order of business then would be approval of the March 15th meeting minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look them over? And I guess if there's no corrections or revisions, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Hill and seconded by Commissioner Wood to approve the March 15th, 2021 meeting minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Minutes are approved unanimously. Bill, that brings us to our staff report.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll start off with the Recreation Division. Our swim continues to be very successful. We're back to offering 3 days a week for lessons. Our class filled up the other day within the first 2 hours of registration. So it's very, very popular. I think if we had more days in a week, we could provide more, but that's all we have. Our soccer took around 700 registrants, and we had 72 teams. So that's one of our biggest. You might, when you go by Stokes Field, see all the activity there. So then we have 700 folks out there along with their family members, so the number is really, really large. Softball, we just ended our softball registration, and numbers look very similar to last year. It's down a little bit from normal, but we're optimistic that these numbers will increase as we have this pandemic behind us. Pickleball, we're working with that association, Pickleball Association. We have a Northwest Inland Pickleball Association. We're working with them to offer some lessons for the beginners through their club, but they're actually working through us. So the club's going to provide the lessons, but the registration is coming through our office. So we're partnering up with them. And the Jewett House, we're picking up more and more weddings, and not only just weddings, but other things in general. I've handed that to Adam's been a lot more involved helping Marla over there a bunch, and now we're starting to get, again, with the pandemic behind us, we're starting to see more people out and about. So we have about, he told me the other day, 7 weddings already booked.
Wow.
And we're not that deep into the season. We had that cleanup on tubs, and it went really well. We were able to pull off 3 truckloads. So our staff pulled up those logs, trimmed them to length, and pulled them up to the fire road, and then they loaded them up. We have one more run. We had 2 runs. This week, we pulled up some more, and the logger will be there again. He's got a self-loading truck, so he just picks them up from the fire road and loads them and takes them out. So that was a good thing for us to do. It was a bit of a learning curve. We learned some things on that, and we're going to continue to do the cleanup portion of this, not the logging operation part of it, but as far as the breaking up of the small limbs, and we bought a smaller chipper that we took down. I think I may have mentioned this before, went down into the hill. So we're going to plan to do this every year as the weather permits in off-season. So it's something that I think we'll just do for here on out yearly when we have the opportunity. The Tubbs Hill Foundation has helped us with some of that work, and then they helped us with this, maybe I can't get it to come up. I guess not. So I'll just tell you what we did. So we had some trail work that they helped us with on. And they went in last weekend with Monty, or last week, on one of the areas near marker 14, kind of where the old grandstands was. We had a really, really large pine that pulled up a big portion of the trail. There's a big root mass. So Monty was up there working with them, and we, some years ago, purchased a jackhammer, an electric jackhammer for work on the trails. And so we went up there and broke up some rock. The pictures, too bad I can't get them up and fired up for you to see. They made a repair with Monty, and we did some other trail repair. There was some area as you come up on East Tubbs. There was a drain system that we put in years ago when we put in the accessible trail for Tom McTevia, who was spearheaded that program for us. When we did that, we actually put in a drain system, and it kind of got a little plugged up, so we went in there and dug it up again and retrenched it, and then laid in a better drain cap on it, or grate rather, not cap. And they fixed that up real well. It's nice that there was probably, I'll bet you 7 volunteers. What comes to my mind, Mark Wiedeek was one of those, Dave Yaden was another, Gwen Oka was another, George Ives was there. There were the VP for the foundation, Dave, his last name escapes me. But anyway, they've been extremely helpful this last couple of years that Dave Yaden has been involved with that foundation. So they've been very, very helpful. We have something new we're working on. Does that one say balloon rides? I can't read it from
Yes.
here.
I can't either.
Balloon rides, that's right.
it. Okay, so
Gosh.
about 2 months ago, I was contacted by this gal who likes to go by the name of,
Dreamcatcher.
she calls herself Captain Crystal. Anyway, she's providing, and we're working this out. It's going to be at McEwen. It's going to be on May 22nd. It's going to be for veterans and the people that are unable to, that are in wheelchairs and may be impaired in some way, free rides. And so we have hooked them up with our local Disability Action Center. And so they've sent the word out. And so these balloon rides, they're a tethered ride, and they're going to start it, it's going to be set up down here. And it goes up about 25 feet or so. They'll gladly take donations, but for veterans and folks that have disabilities, it's going to be a free balloon ride just to get up about 20 or 30 feet. So we're real excited about offering that. And then we've got this little item right here. So you may have heard that we purchased a couple of hotels down on East Sherman. Both of those have been raised, and the ground has been leveled. The larger one of those, near 17th and Sherman, we're going to turn it into a pocket park. And so this is Sherman, and this is 17th. The sidewalk ends right here, so right now it's just a big dirt patch. And we met out there Friday with Hillary Anderson, our planning director, Todd Fusier, our new street department head, Troy Tymason, and Russ from the streets department, and our park superintendent, Jeff, to talk about this design. Monty put this together for us. The idea is that this sidewalk will continue down 17th Street. We're going to pour a pad big enough for a porta potty shelter. I told you once before that we bought a mill so we could use some of those logs that we're getting from trees that are down in the park. We've already cut the dimensional lumber to build this, other than the metal roofing. So we've got all of that, and we've got to get some expanded metal for the siding. But anyway, we've got that set aside already to build this. This is an alley, so we decided to put in some head-in parking here. This whole thing will just be grass. Todd's guys are going to do the grading. They're going to do this work here, which is the flat work for a little stage area. There'll be some power is here. We'll bring it in to a power box here. We're going to add a light to this location. And then we have some lights that Todd has repurposed from downtown on Sherman that we'll put in some lighting. We've kind of showed them here. That's not necessarily the way they'll lay out. We might push this one to this side so that this area is open. These areas here are just beds with dogwood in each bed, and then these will be a variety of trees. Evergreens along this edge on the west side to help kind of shield it from this business here. And we're going to start showing this around because we've been talking about it. I've got a little bit of budget spare. We have the trees in stock, and so we're all going to do this in-house is what we're going to do. So Todd and his gang are going to get out here first, his crew, do the grading. There's a swale that runs right here that actually goes back to the alley. We're going to pull that out and make it a lot softer and just make more of a depression. So it's not really what you would consider a swale. It's just going to be a low spot. Most of this is grass. The only impermeable surface is this. So we won't have much need for a very large swale. So we're real excited about getting this one going. We're going to try and get it moving before we have too much to do already. And the reason we have so much to do already is the next item. We don't have any staff, plain and simple. We hire 23 seasonal workers. We've had 15 applicants. We're able to hire 2 out of that 15, and we fired 1 today. So we had 4 returning seasonals from last year, so we have a total of 5. On top of that, our irrigation technician gave his resignation, and so now we've disseminated or distributed his workload between 3 other people, which have enough to do already. And so Jeff Erickson stepped into that role, Bill Andrews has stepped into that role, and Robert Cooper, who runs the cemetery. All 3 of those guys are really good at irrigation, so they're helping everybody else out to get things charged. So we're running really behind. So we'll be advertising soon to fill that position, but we don't have time to do it right now. We got to get things up and running, and then we'll have to train somebody up. So we're gonna maybe look from within, but additionally we're going to look on the outside as well. So we'll see what we can do with filling that one.
So Bill, kind of heading into the summer season then, how are you anticipating, how many staff will you be short?
19. So what we're going to probably do is we're going to continue our outsourcing program. What we've done in the past is, and we were using a janitorial firm that we let go today, that we're coming in to the waterfront corridor and cleaning our restrooms so when we can just turnkey open them in the morning. They had 3 strikes. They've only been doing this for 10 days and they've messed up 3 different times, and so today we decided to let them go. We've decided to go ahead and let a couple of our people come in at 5:30 in the morning, get those open and leave early. Jeff and I talked through this a little bit to get better coverage. We have assigned our full-time people. They're working now the weekends. They haven't in the past. What we've done with all our full-timers is they're on about a 7-week cycle where everybody has to do a weekend. And so they're real good with that. Now we've assigned people's work week is just going to include a Sunday and it's going to include a Saturday. Mm-hmm. And our staff is remarkable. They didn't miss a beat. They just said, okay, we'll do it. There was no moaning, there was no complaining. They understood the need and they just stepped up and said, we'll do it. So we're real fortunate that we've got a good crew that understands the need. We'll start the outsourcing portion to a greater degree with non-park stuff. So we do a lot, like police station, fire station. There's a lot of little pocket things in town, 23rd and Sherman, Gibbs Island, these little spots that people don't know that we do, the Ramsey Swales, maybe even Northwest Boulevard Islands. We might subcontract all of those out because we don't have the staff. So what we'll do is take our seasonal budget and roll that into outsourcing. I've done that once before and it worked well when we were short a couple years ago. We'll do the same thing. We'll get by, we'll get through it, but it just puts a strain on everybody. And on top of that, without the staff, what's happening now, and I mentioned to you last time, we're, maybe I did mention it was just another meeting I was at, historical events that we've had, reoccurring historical events. the Riverstone Concert Series, Live at 5, 4th of July, these things that we've had for years and years, those things are going to take place. But I am not allowing for any other new events, only because we don't have the staff. If everybody wants to come here and have an event, and I don't have the staff to man it, so we've been denying a lot of events due to that fact. And so we'll get by with what we have, the ones that are on the books, the ones that are historical, but we're not taking, and we've had a lot that we've denied already from different people that want to do things on an event scale. The everyday run-of-the-mill, birthday party, reunion in a gazebo, sure, we can handle that, not a problem. It's the events that want gate access, they want a band, they want, all these things, they want vendors. It changes the equation quite a bit. And I feel bad about it, but we don't have any other option. And so that's what we're up against for this season. And we started advertising like we always do in the end of February. We normally have about 60% of our staff on board by the end of March. And we lose a few, we gain a few, but we haven't had a new applicant in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So the pickings are slim.
Well, I have a suggestion. I don't know if it's possible, but since you're outsourcing, you might ask the college, outsource with the college, looking at where the college kind of overlaps, like Memorial Field or along the boulevard that you're talking about. They're already over there doing that large area.
I'll talk to Gary, that's not a bad idea.
They might be
Yeah.
willing to pick up some
Yeah.
of that. You'll have to pay them, Bill, but they might be willing to pick that up.
Yeah. Okay. And that's the updates I have for you. It's tough on that's the updates I have for you. It's tough on, I don't like saying no, I never have, but it's a matter of having to make this thing work and get it put together correctly and not overextend staff. Erickson's putting in a lot of hours right now, and I'm telling him he needs to be careful because he used to be the irrigation technician, so he knows everything about all of it, and so people are leaning on him pretty hard to help give direction. And he's happy to do it, but I just watch everybody carefully to make certain they're not getting a little thin.
Jim?
Where do you advertise for, just on the city website for?
And the paper both, yeah. And so we do the paper run for a short time, but it's mostly on our website. It's interesting. We had somebody walk in today who had some janitorial background that asked about it. And so Mel directed him to our website. And that's something that Jeff and I did, talk through. If we could get somebody that was just a janitorial guy, maybe we start them in the morning, that's what we use them for. So we could, the guys that we're starting now at 5 o'clock can stay and do park stuff. So I'm kind of hopeful that this guy pans out. It might be a fix for the waterfront corridor because we have both McEwen restrooms, both restrooms in City Park and the restroom by the skate park. Oh, and I forgot to note on my CXT is still not up and running. It was, the concrete apron was poured. That's the CXT that replaced the bricks bathroom in the north end of City Park. The apron was poured on at the sidewalk. The plumber was in there fixing some leaks today. The electrician will be here Wednesday, and we'll have it up and running hopefully by this weekend. We had some failures in there when we hooked it up. There was a bunch of leaks and stuff, so we've got that all buttoned up, and we'll have that one open soon.
Oh, go ahead. I've been doing all the talking. Go.
Bridget?
I'm wondering what some of the ideas might be for next year. And I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are of why the shortfall of applicants, or is it pandemic, and any thoughts on?
I have a few, sure, and my thinking on it is that it's really, for what we're paying, we've upped our rate. It's starting out at 13. Mm-hmm. If you return, you get a 5% increase the next year. So ultimately, people can get up to, about $15, 16 bucks if you stick it out with us for a while.
Yeah.
You can stay home right now on unemployment and get $600 a week. And then if you can get the stimulus check on top of that, there's really not much incentive to work. Now, that's my opinion. I don't know if that's true, but that's the kind of way I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's areas that, if this is gonna become a kind of a yearly problem, finding seasonal staff, kind of developing a program to where you can go out and recruit maybe students that are like employment during the summer months or something, but, need to kind of think ahead of how we can head this issue off in the coming years.
Agree. Jeff and I have been, racking our brains a little bit about it, and, that's one angle. The other one is that we're thinking, I'm worried, honestly, that the outsourcing, those contractors are having difficulty.
Yeah.
So that was one of the reasons that our janitorial folks, I think, had some failures, that they had hired some new folks that weren't doing their job and weren't coming to work. And so because of that behavior is why we had to let them go. That's an internal problem on their end, but I'm afraid that, whoever we might use for landscaping or even janitorial, they're running up against the same thing we are, not being able to find staff. And so we're pretty good at shooting from the hip, and we'll see, what the future holds. But you're right, we're always gonna have to get creative, and I don't know what the future holds for us.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chair, along the lines of maybe doing some outsourcing with NIC, there's also the school district where our land butts up against them, maybe some outsourcing with some of their staff, I don't
Sure.
know. But Bill, you guys all just do such an amazing job of keeping it together. I completely understand why you would limit the events. It just seems, we just can't keep going if you don't have the staff. So, I don't know, I would hope you would come before council and tell us your troubles so we can see what we can do to help in any way. But I was also gonna ask you, last time I chatted with you, and I wasn't with the group, so you'll have to update the group, but we were talking about the restroom facility at Atlas, and there was the leaks that you were talking about with CXT, you were dealing with the same thing. Has that been repaired?
At Atlas,
Yeah.
yes, we're up and running. It was open last week.
Oh, see, I never use it, I just wanted to know.
You're always down at the other end at the puppy park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, good work.
Mike?
Yeah, a little bit different topic, but I'd heard some reports. I know we put a lot of work into the pickleball courts last year out at Northshire Park.
Yes.
And I'd heard this spring that we have some cracks.
Cracks, yes.
What's the skinny on that? Do you have any insight, Bill?
Yes. So the product that we used, I think, again, we're making this up as we go along, and we're trying the best we can, but I think what had happened was some of those fractures were maybe a quarter inch to a half inch, so they weren't real wide. And the product that we were using, this mastic we were using, I think we blended it too thick, and it didn't pour in deep enough, and it got suspended. It was thick enough, so it kind of hung up.
Okay.
So when we saw what happened, Czar, who did the initial work, he and I were talking through this a bit. We found another product that's a pourable product. And so I think what we need to do, and again, we're going to run into a problem, Czar's helping out with irrigation right now as well. But our plan was to use this other material that is thinner and then pour it in lifts. So don't fill it all the way up, because those cracks are anywhere from 2.5 inches or 3 inches deep in some spots. So we would do them in lifts so that first lift can actually dry, because it's going to set on, we believe, some moist soil, and so it's going to take a little bit more to dry. He and I have talked a little bit about what can we do to heat that up, and we talked about some sort of heat gun or blow dryer or something to help that along, but we don't want to get something so hot that it might compromise the surface. But so we just need to have a hot, dry day, and then get that first lift down, and then do the second lift, and then touch up the courts where we won't repaint the entire thing. We'll just touch up where we made the repairs. So that's the plan, if we can find a time.
Okay, no worries. I
So-
just
so
checking.
we- so we have-
see
we
if
have-
it was A,
we have a
true,
thought, yeah.
B, if it was on the radar.
Yeah,
Sounds
yes, it
like
is.
it is.
Yep.
So, thanks,
Yep.
Bill.
Any other questions for Bill? Thank you, Bill. You have your hands full.
We love it.
Do any of the commissioners tonight have any comments or announcements? Okay. Are there any public comments tonight? There are none. Okay. Our first action item tonight then is in regards to amendments to the Parks and Recreation Commission bylaws and ordinance. I'll go ahead, Bill, and read the report in to the record. The decision point tonight, should the Parks and Recreation Commission recommend to the City Council that it adopt amendments to the City Code with respect to the Parks and Recreation Commission. We have changed the wording for a school district member from School District 271 to a community education. It is still required that such member is either a member of the school board of an administrative staff person. The student representative from School District 271 position will no longer be part of the quorum, but will continue to vote and have input. There has been some difficulty with the student attending consistently, which was problematic to achieving a quorum. The commission quorum will now be 4 instead of 5. The other change is to clarify that if a member misses 3 consecutive meetings, that member is subject to removal by the commission chair. Financial analysis. There is no direct financial impact on the city other than staff time to change the ordinances. Performance analysis. The changes to the ordinance and adopting bylaws will help streamline the function of the Parks and Recreation Commission, as well as provide a clear outline for all new members to follow. Again, the commission, the decision point is whether the commission should recommend to City Council to adopt the changes to the municipal code regarding the Parks and Recreation Commission City Code. Bill, you have any additional comments?
Well, we've been talking about this for several years, and so we have sat among ourselves and then separately come up with a conclusion about what it is we think, the direction we want it to go. And so I just took your comments and drafted this up. So from that, I would just take, if you think this is right, then we move this forward to General Services. If you want some other changes that you recognize now as we're talking about it, we can do that as well.
Yep. Well, I'm glad we had an avenue. Of course, you know, historically, quorums in the summer months have been difficult when our student reps are out of school and have moved on, and our quorum has remained 5. So I think this will help the commission to function better year-round.
Yeah, there's been a few times that we've, last year, because we didn't meet as much, but the year before, we had a couple times where we weren't able to actually hold the meeting. We talked about a few things and then adjourned. So I think it'll be helpful.
Any comments?
I think they're constructive changes.
I know we've workshopped this quite a few times, so everybody should be pretty familiar with what the revisions are. So if there's no comments, then I'll entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion that the commission should recommend to the city council to adopt the changes to the municipal code regarding the Park and Recreation Commission City Code.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made by Commissioner Lean and seconded by Commissioner McDowell to recommend that City Council adopt the changes to the municipal code regarding the Parks and Recreation Commission City Code. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Bill, where does it go now? Does that go to General Services? Okay. Great.
You're doing a great job. This isn't directed at you whatsoever.
Our next item is the Riverstone shade structure. The decision point tonight, should the commission recommend to the General Services Committee that council enter into a naming rights agreement with Idaho Central Credit Union for the Riverstone Park Amphitheater for a period of 10 years. History. With private and public partnerships becoming more and more prevalent, we saw an opportunity to help offset some park costs and create public goodwill. In June of 2012, the City Council adopted our naming policy guideline to manage these opportunities. When the concept of the amphitheater at Riverstone Park was developed in 2007, a shade structure was identified as a possible amenity for the stage. One of the city's partners, the Arts and Cultural Alliance, has been providing free concerts here since 2012, and many of the performers at the amphitheater refer to it as the frying pan. A shade structure will provide a more pleasant experience for everyone who uses the amphitheater. Ally Shute with the Arts and Cultural Alliance spearheaded a fundraising campaign for a shade structure, and she has acquired all the funds needed to purchase and install this structure over the amphitheater. Financial analysis. No city funds are required to accept this donation and grant naming rights. Although we have some labor involved with the project management, installation, and maintenance. The cost of the shade structure is $53,653, and the installation is estimated at $40,000. The installation cost is an estimate because of the possible need to breach the pond liner. Idaho Central Credit Union's contribution for the naming rights is $40,000. In addition, an anonymous donor is providing $40,000 for the project. Ignite has allocated $35,000, and the Arts and Cultural Alliance has $11,000 available to be used. Performance analysis. The contributions from Idaho Central Credit Union and the anonymous donor, along with the naming rights, will be managed by the Panhandle Parks Foundation. The structure would be installed seasonally and taken down in the fall by the Parks Department. The Parks Department will also maintain the structure, which will be owned by the city. Again, the decision tonight is whether the commission should recommend to General Services that the city grant naming rights at Riverstone Park Amphitheater to Idaho Central Credit Union for 10 years. Bill, is there anything you want to add, or maybe introduce Ally if she would like to make a few comments?
So we can field questions from you guys. Ally's here, the shade structure is there. The only thing I think I might, if this were to happen, which we think it shall, what we'll be taking down off-season, these poles will remain. We'll be managing taking the shades down and keeping them taut. So the structure themselves, those poles, are going to remain their season all year long. And with that, I can introduce Ally Shute if you'd like to talk to her about any of this.
Please.
Hi, Ally.
Had to come up here.
If you'd come to the podium and just introduce yourself and your address just for the record, and whatever comments you'd like to have. I'd like to say congratulations on a very successful fundraising campaign.
Thank you. I'm Ally Shute, the Executive Director of the Coeur d'Alene Arts and Culture Alliance. We reside at 105 North First my office is actually in the Chamber Building. And this, I see this shade cover as being really important for no other reason than we have gone through this pandemic. We have people itching to do something fun, and our concerts have been so well received, and I think this is a great opportunity for us to continue to provide really nice, safe outdoor entertainment for our community for free. It's a great thing. So I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
Christy?
Ally, when does the concert season start?
It starts the 1st of July this year. It's every Thursday in July and August, and then we have one Saturday concert this year that will be August 21st. We are going to have the big symphony out there.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be great.
And they're usually at about 5 o'clock, is that right?
6 o'clock
Six.
is when they start, and the headline bands start at 6:30, and we take the opportunity from 6 to about 6:20 to feature local up-and-coming musicians that are really looking for an opportunity to perform in front of an audience, get their name out there, and it's been a really great experience. And a great example is Jacob Maxwell, who we featured for a couple of years as an opener, and then he went on to appear on The Voice and gain notoriety. So we feel like we're giving these young people an opportunity to show themselves.
That's fantastic. Well, and I have to say, Bill, you've talked how busy we are with your department, but you're all in on this. It's a great partnership, and it's obviously necessary, so good work.
It is. It's like Devin Weeks said when she did the article in the paper. She said, we're putting a lid on the frying pan.
Oh, that's good.
Bridget?
I'm curious about the wind factor when we have the periodic summer storms. What happens with those? They go flying?
Well, and that is where this company that we're working with, Play Creations, they're out of Burien, Washington. And they, as part of providing the materials for the structure, they are doing the engineering to make sure that these poles are 10 inches in diameter. And the engineering that's involved in the construction of this is pretty extensive, and that's part of what we're paying for.
Ally, along with that, do they kind of take a look at, is it big enough to give cover as the sun comes down?
Yes, actually, and it's hard to see how this works with this, I mean, this is just a rendering.
Ally,
But if you
can
look at
use-
it from
You can use the
above-
cursor to help point. That cursor there in front
This
of you.
cursor,
that-
okay. So this post is actually behind where the seating is. So that cover comes way out over the audience. And so the whole idea is you couldn't just cover the stage because of the angle of the sun. So they designed this thing that comes way out, and it will actually cover the guy that does our sound and a lot of the concrete seating. And the seating that's in the grassy area tends to get shaded quickly during the evening. So it should, I think it's going to be awesome.
Terrific.
Anything else for Ally?
That's great.
Well, thank you, we're excited.
Yeah, I am too.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a
Yep,
question.
Jim.
The naming rights and the amount of money and the 10 years, is that kind of in line with the other naming rights and,
They're all different.
okay?
So we've had 35, 50, 100, so it depends on, and so this is prorated based on those
Sure.
numbers as well.
Sure.
So that's where we were at with that. One thing I might add on the footings that you were asking about, concerned about the wind, the only footings that we, in my staff report, this one and this one, I talked with John Mueller, who, if you recall, designed this. And so this one here is the one that I was concerned about in relationship to that liner. And if we're going to be careful there, if we breach that, we have to repair it, and we'll have to have a different firm. That's why we maybe have a little bit more money in our coffers than we need, it may seem, but we're hedging our bet we're okay. But if we have to have that, it has to be vulcanized, and has to be done by a company that does that sort of work. And John said there's also some textile geotechnic fabric that's under here we need to be a little bit concerned with. So there, a couple of these near the water we have to be wary of. These others, not so much. And so other than those 2 or 3 poles, I think we're in great shape. And then I don't know, we're going to talk later with ICCU. They'll probably end up getting a sign maybe here or here in one of these beds that says, you know, it's the naming right is for the stage, and I think it was something like the ICCU stage at Riverstone, something like that, is what we've been.
It's really long.
Yeah.
Idaho Central Credit Union Amphitheater at Riverstone.
We'll work on trying to edit that down a little bit.
Okay,
Michael Kep suggested we just call it Jeff.
So I've already spoke with the foundation about this well in advance before we got this far into it. So they're all on board. The agreement that's been drafted is a similar agreement that they've done with Qantas. It's a similar agreement they did with Rotary for the naming rights here at McEwen. So they're all on board. They're going to hold the money from ICCU, and they're also going to hold the money from the anonymous donor. Ally has her own capital, and then I've yet to talk to Director Burns about how Ignite's going to help out in the project, but quite often we just send him invoices, and he just pays off of those. So as those monies, or those invoices come through, we'll disseminate those bills to the proper channels, and we're going to get it done.
Great.
Awesome.
anything else? If there's no further comment, then I'll entertain a motion.
I can make the motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
I make a motion, the commission should recommend to General Services that the city grant naming rights at Riverstone Park Amphitheater to Idaho Central Credit Union for 10 years.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made by Commissioner Wood, seconded by Commissioner Lean, that the commission should recommend to General Services that the city grant naming rights at Riverstone Park Amphitheater to Idaho Central Credit Union for 10 years. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that moves forward unanimously. Again, Bill, that'll go to General Services, and that would be next week?
I think it's next Monday.
Okay. I guess before we have meeting announcements here at the end of our agenda, is there any other comments or points to be made before we adjourn then? I'll just go ahead and announce our next meeting dates. Tuesday, May 4th, 11:30 a.m. will be our next scheduled workshop, City Hall and Conference Room number 6. Bill, do we have any agenda items yet for that workshop?
We may. As you recall, we've been working with Mr. Evans, Jason Evans, on a CAN course. We have the agreement drafted. I am going to be speaking with the neighborhood here. I've got a couple emails out and trying to get together with those folks to have a little sit down and discuss what our plans are before we bring it to you. So if we can get that done between now and then, we'll have that on the docket. But if I can't get all the players together in time, I don't have anything at this time.
Okay. Our next regular Park and Rec Commission meeting then will be Monday, May 17th, 5:30, right here at the library community room. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Motion's been made by Commissioner McDowell and seconded by Commissioner Lean to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.